Week 3 of the NFL season rapidly approaching. We've got the Bills and the Miami Dolphins Thursday nighter kicking off this week's Peacock and Williamson six-pack of picks.
NFL analyst Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson bring you expert NFL analysis every day in less than 30 minutes. Get an inside look at the NFL on the field and in the front office with elite breakdowns to next-level analysis and in-depth information only for the real NFL fans. This is Peacock and Williamson, and it starts now.
Welcome to the Peacock and Williamson NFL Show. Brian Peacock alongside Matt Williamson at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Love our everydayers. Thanks for hanging with us. And we're getting into week 3 now. Learning a lot about these football teams and making some picks here for this week's slate of games, starting with our six-pack of picks. And we're going to begin with the Thursday nighter, Buffalo Bills hosting the Miami Dolphins, two teams that have had a very different start in the first 2 weeks of their season. I do want to let the folks out there know that today's episode of Peacock and Williamson brought to you by Mazda. Like the players on the field, Mazda sweats every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. So, Matt, let's go to the Thursday nighter. It is the Buffalo Bills that have been a powerhouse football team over the course of 2 weeks, a massive comeback win against the Ravens in week 1, and the Miami Dolphins. This is probably a matchup of the team that has been the best and the worst in the first 2 weeks of the NFL season so far, with the Miami Dolphins just being in rough shape. And, if the Dolphins are going to do anything this year, they got to turn it around. They got to turn around quick, and that's a tough ask at the red-hot 2-0 Buffalo Bills.
Real tough ask. On the road, not a quick little road trip up the street either. I mean, place you've been, obviously, but short week. Place is going to be wound up, lubed up. Bills fans are on fire right now, as they should be. They should be super optimistic. Because I always like to pull back the curtain on my process. The Patriots are playing the Steelers this week, and the Patriots just played Miami. So I watched that game, week 2 Miami Patriots, much more than I would have any other game, as opposed to just watching it the first time casually as other things are going on. And I don't think either team played well. I mean, it was just I initially thought, boy, Miami was so horrible against the Colts. This must have been better. In some ways it was. They put points on the board and did some things, but a lot of sloppiness and just poor football play for the NFL level, really, for New England and Miami, and kickoff returns for touchdowns and things like that just not real sharp or buttoned up. And the more I think about Miami, I do like their defensive front, but I think it's the worst defense in the league. I mean, that back seven, besides Minka, just doesn't have any NFL starting caliber players, more or less, especially in the secondary. And they're just not a physical football team. I think people have caught on to them. I don't know how, the mojo just seems really bad. And then I thought the same thing 1 week ago about the Jets. Jets just played the Steelers. They look good. I think they'll play the Bills tough. Bills blow their doors off. I took the Jets plus the points. They'll hang around. They'll stay tough in the division. Bills are blowing people's doors off right now. And I think they're going to do it again Thursday night.
Not even close. Feels like a runaway for the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
They're 11.5-point favorites. The big question here, because we utilize the spread, and it's a little bit too easy to be saying, oh, who do you pick? The Bills or the Dolphins? Like, oh, let's take the Bills. No, Come on. Against the spread, 11.5 points. Does that even things out for you at all in this one?
Yeah, quite a bit, because I do think Miami's going to put points on the board. They still have Waddle and Hill and Chan, and I don't think Tua is terrible all of a sudden. So that's my dilemma. I bet. I'm sure people realize I am not an expert bettor. I'm an NFL analyst, but I am not an expert bettor. I would bet that division games with double-digit spreads have to favor the dog. I mean, they just have to.
Well, so that was my thought last week when we did our six-pack, and it was Ravens Browns.
Browns, right.
And then a couple days later, all these quotes came out with the Browns, kind of dogging the Ravens. And then of course, that becomes bulletin board material. And the more I thought about it, I was like, they're just too good, and they're big brother.
Mm-hmm.
And then I flipped on that when we did our Friday show. I was like, no, man, I can't. I got to change that one because I think the Ravens are going to win big. There might not be that extra bit of motivation for the Buffalo Bills in this game, but just the way these two teams have looked, nobody's looked better than the Bills. Nobody's looked worse than the Dolphins. And so for that,
1,000%,
whatever, a couple touchdowns, it could be one of those. And we've seen a lot of those early season blowouts where it's just like, we're better than you and we're going to win by multiple scores.
Like, I think Ed Oliver's kind of been the Bills' best player. He's out for this game one more time. I don't think they're going to need him, but that might help with the spread. I can't possibly take Miami, so I'm going to lay the points.
Well, one thing I like about the Buffalo Bills is they traded up twice in the NFL draft to take defensive tackles. In the second round, they got TJ Sanders, who's more of a 3 technique, bursty upfield, sort of a pass rushing interior player. And then you got the big 300, Deion Walker's 6'7", 330 pounds or whatever he is, just a massive guy.
Sizes,
Right. They got in the 4th round. So 2 young players to jump in there and help. So at least the Bills are a team that's equipped with young talent to potentially jump in and help kind of develop there. And they've got a couple of players. They got Zion Logue inside as well. So they actually have some depth. It's one of the few teams
they have guys,
extra guys, on the defensive line, which most teams can't say.
Very true. I mean, at least that's what they're building towards. And I actually thought Joey Bosa, speaking of defensive lineman, I meant to bring him up earlier in the week, looked like that's what they got what they bought. I mean, it wasn't like the Von Miller trade where he kind of fell apart when they got him, or Bosa's been kind of held together by duct tape lately. And as of right now, the way they're using him, he's been a very useful piece for them.
Absolutely. I mean, when he's healthy, he's still a really good football player. You're
going
to get good football. So, where's the weakness that the Dolphins attack? They haven't proven they can attack any weakness anyway. Give me the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, me too. I just can't put my money on Miami here.
How about the Pittsburgh Steelers at the New England Patriots? So we're talking a lot about the AFC East here, and we'll talk a lot about the AFC South a little bit later here with some of our games, because I think there's some really, really big early season matchups here in the South that's going to go a long way in deciding what's going to happen in that division. But looking at the East, we just talked about Buffalo, Miami. New England Patriots haven't really seen that bump yet from their new regime in town in New England. Real quick, though, tying in the Steelers and the Dolphins, early returns on the Minka for Jalen Ramsey swap, both defenses got worse, Matt.
They really did. I mean, I like the deal at the time. I'm still in favor of it, but Steelers could use Minka right now, too. They could use them all. Defense has been a total disaster. I just found this out, how NFL advanced analytics, they do missed tackle rate. Steelers are last and they're missing the most tackles right now. They've revved up blitzing, but they're not quite getting home. If there was a stat for almost sacks, I bet the Steelers are number 1. They're just like a fraction off on these guys, and nothing's quite clicking. But what worries me most from a Steelers perspective is just they don't run the ball well, and they're getting run on. They're losing everything at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, and it just is way too hard on everybody else when it goes that way. And they're asking a lot out of Rodgers, and he's been holding up, but I don't know for how much longer. I mean, you can't just ask him to do everything, and he's not Superman at this point. And New England's interesting to me because they were last in the league sacks a year ago. They already have 9. And those defensive linemen they invested in, Landry, Milton Williams, Barmore coming back, they get after the quarterback. But everyone is throwing all over them. I mean, their pass defense is like last in the league right now. Gonzalez has been out. I don't think he's going to play. He would have been a great matchup for DK. So it's kind of going to be a Rodgers-centric game plan, I would assume. And watching the Patriots, they're better, but they were pretty sloppy in Miami too. And I do want to give May a lot of credit. He played extremely, extremely well. And I think he'll do quite a bit against Steelers. But I'm sticking with the hometown Steelers. I'm going to lay the points. I think they got embarrassed last week, and often a Tomlin team will come back and play physical and nasty the next week. That's just kind of my hunch.
Yeah, I don't like betting against the home dogs. It's 100 points. That's not enough to scare me off. I think the Steelers are a better football team. I expect the defense to get better, and unlike the secondary for the Patriots, there's a reason they could be better. I think just with their current personnel group.
Yeah.
Until Gonzalez comes back for those Patriots, we'll see what happens there. Pretty good numbers, but for Drake May so far in the first 2 weeks of the season.
Good.
I want to see more. I don't know what's going on with rookie running backs. That's going to be one of our topics. I think of tomorrow's mailbag. Like, I don't know what's going on, but get Trayvon Henderson the football and get him on the field a little bit more. Need a little bit more dynamism, on that offense. Boutte is a nice little piece though.
I want to bring both those guys up.
Yeah.
I mean, people looked at Boutte as the heir apparent to Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase at LSU, and it ended up being Neighbors and Thomas and all these unbelievable other receivers. But he's like regarded in that manner, and some of a lot of off the field things derailed that. But there's not a lack of talent there, and the rookie running back conversation is really interesting. And I think it's really interesting with Henderson in that how many times do we say, well, he's like the only one that's good in protection of the whole group. He had 3 holding penalties in protection last week and is getting steamrolled.
He's not the biggest guy.
No.
And so, that works against you. But then he's a good receiver too. And he's shown that already in the NFL. But if you can't be on the field and the team can't trust you, so I don't know if it's trust. I don't know if it's bad offensive lines. I think league-wide, the league's not running the ball super efficient and great right now.
No, it takes time.
Yeah, the defense is maybe just a little bit ahead of the offenses in the running game regard, so maybe that's part of it as well. But anyway, give me the Steelers.
Every rookie right now.
The whole entire rookie class.
Yeah,
all disappointing so far.
And my man Caleb Johnson, I don't think is coming back from the dead.
It's like cut him. He's a 3rd round pick. He's played 2 games. Cut him. Get him out of
here. He's in the doghouse. I'll tell you that.
All right. Tomlin didn't sound too happy at all about that when he was asked.
No.
All right, but give me the Steelers here and big game. Put Rodgers, put DK in your DFS lineups, maybe.
I think they'll throw a lot.
Yeah. Next, we got Cards Niners, 2 unbeatens in the NFC West. The battle of the backups with Cincinnati and Minnesota, and some matchups in the AFC South on this week's 6-pack on Peacock and Williamson next. This episode of Peacock and Williamson is brought to you by Mazda's moving the game forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. And this week's moment that moved the game forward, and Matt, you brought this up to me before the pod, talking about Malik Neighbors, and that in Dynasty League drafts, he might be the 1.1 number 1 overall player ahead of Jefferson, ahead of Jamar Chase, which is wild. Big touchdown pass from Russell Wilson in that shootout with the New York Giants against the Dallas Cowboys. They came up a little bit short, but he's certainly moving the game forward right now for the New York Giants and for your fantasy league. So when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to every Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Today's episode is also brought to you by our friends at Game Time. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. If you're a sports fan, if you ever think about going to sporting events, if you ever go to concerts, comedy shows, if you ever go to the theater, whatever it is, you got to have Game Time in your pocket. And with the NFL season back, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. Let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle between queues, login screens, and prices jumping at checkout. It's frustrating. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. And the Game Time app just a little bit ago to check on some NFL games. Just a couple of taps. See amazing deals talking about your favorite NFL games as low as $100 tickets. And, of course, all the other shows and concerts you might want to go see. Find those tickets at Game Time and download the Game Time app and create an account and use our code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go, download Game Time today. Let's go to the Cincinnati Bengals at the Minnesota Vikings. Tons of injuries popping up for both of these football teams. We got Aaron Jones added to it now on Minnesota's side. Joe Burrow is going to be done for months. Surgery on his turf toe. And now we got J.J. McCarthy. It's a high ankle sprain going on IR. So an interesting matchup here nonetheless for the Cincinnati Bengals at the Minnesota Vikings. And neither team has played necessarily awesome with their quarterbacks the first couple of weeks of the season, too. So I don't even know how you handicap this. Minnesota favored by 3.5 at home.
Yeah. I believe I watched a lot of McCarthy, and he's in way over his head. So yeah. I think even just a backup that's been around the block, that's been in stadiums and knows what they're doing, probably helps matters. This might actually be a quarterback upgrade, not a massive one, not nearly as much of a downgrade as Burrow to Browning, but I also think Browning's okay. I'm a little shocked this line's that high, though. I mean, you mentioned the Vikings injuries. They got a bunch of O-line injuries, too. You know, it's all on one side of the ball. I know it's an awful place to play when we have these. It's funny. We just mentioned Neighbors being the talk of maybe being wide receiver 1 in Dynasty. Well, the two guys that have owned that is Chase and Jefferson, and they're squaring off, and they're all from LSU and blah, blah, blah. I think I have to take the points. I mean, just all the unknowns here, that seems like a lot of points.
I feel the same way. And Jake Browning's done a nice job in recent years filling in for Joe Burrow. They got the win last week. And it's funny because I don't think either one of these teams have played great so far, but they've won 3 out of the 4 games they've played so far.
True.
And Wentz hasn't been around long enough, right?
I know. I was thinking that too. I'm like, yeah, he is a veteran and maybe he'll help some things, but he's only been there a couple of weeks. I think he was even signed like right before the season. I don't think he was in training camp with them.
Yeah, it's a no camp. Probably not a full playbook. It might be a boost for Justin Jefferson in your fantasy leagues, and I've got him in my fantasy league, so hopeful because I thought he was going to get a ton of the targets, and it hasn't really gone that way really for the offense at all with J.J. McCarthy. And I agree, he just hasn't looked quite super comfortable. And so maybe not even a big deal, but at the same time, Jake Browning has done a nice job with the Bengals. And if I'm getting 3.5 points in a game that could end up being ugly and weird, I got to take the points here and take the Bengals.
So I think this is true. I'm 98.3% true. Think this is true, but I just double checked, and this is kind of crazy to me. When Wentz starts this game, he's going to start a football game in 6 straight years for 6 different teams. So Vikings in 2025, Chiefs last year, Rams in 23, Commanders in 22, Colts in 21, Eagles before that. I'm almost certain that's the only time that's ever happened in history. And some of them were like a week 18, everybody rested game.
Yeah.
But he started a game for all 6 of those teams in 6 years.
I can barely picture him in some of those uniforms actually playing, but
Commanders
I know he's on all those teams. The other thing is, it's like the Grim Reaper. If you're a quarterback, the starter, and your team signs Carson Wentz,
oh, you're in trouble, dude. Yeah, yeah, it's like the Omen. Yeah, right. Like this.
And so, Aaron Jones out. Jordan Mason, really good running back. I don't think it's going to necessarily hurt them in the running game. In the passing game, that also hurt them too. So another reason that maybe Hawkins. I don't think they've even thrown the ball to Hawkinson all season long.
No.
Yeah.
Thielen hasn't done much. I mean, it's been a tough watch.
The San Francisco 49ers, 2-0 home opener, hosting the Arizona.
More backup quarterbacks.
What's that?
More backup quarterbacks.
I know, more backup quarterbacks. It's crazy. Yeah. So we got Mac Jones, who played really well in his debut for the 49ers last week in place of Brock Purdy. And the Niners are favored by 1.5 points at home, hosting Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals. How do you look at this game, Matt?
This line seems a little small to me. I mean, I think you still got McCaffrey. Matt Jones is a legit NFL player.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I thought he was pretty decent for Jacksonville.
Would Cincinnati or Minnesota kill for Mac Jones right now, right? He was one of the better backups
Probably.
in the NFL
Yeah.
coming into the year. He started games, and played well last week, which is important.
Yeah, and I think he fits the system well, and I think Shanahan's going to cater things to him well at home, right there in San Francisco, right?
Yep, home
Yeah.
opener. They were on the road the first 2 weeks.
And I look at Arizona, and it's a kind of a weird way of looking at things. Like, we just did that episode where they're probably the worst 0-2 team. They just don't smell like a 3-0 team to me. You know what I mean? Like, I just can't quite buy that them being a 3-0 team. So the points aren't enough for me to change my mind.
Yeah, I've been super impressed with Kyler Murray this year. Just kind of more of the same from him. And
yeah.
It's but I think that we'll learn a lot about both these two teams as well, because I don't know if the Niners have been tested necessarily, because
I don't think either one has.
Played the Saints last week, and they you don't have to play your A game, I don't think, to beat the Saints, and which the Cardinals know because they just barely beat the Saints the week before in week 1.
Mm-hmm.
So
common they beat the
there.
Like,
those games look the same. So I like the Niners at home by a field goal. So 1.5 points I don't think is quite enough, even though the 49ers are banged up. And I think the Robert, in fact, today's Locked On 49ers episode is entitled The Robert Saleh Effect. I think it's been huge for the 49ers. They've just been better against the run. They're better pass rushing. They've starting a whole bunch of young players, and they've just been a better defense this year. There's better coached. And so I think that's important as well. And a lot of zone coverage for these 49ers. They'll have all eyes on Kyler Murray. So yeah, give me the Niners here.
As currently constructed on September 19th or September 17th, my mom's birthday. Happy birthday, Joni.
Happy birthday, Mom.
Is the Niners defense the best of the 4 units? They might all be about the same.
Yeah, they kind of It depends on the day, I guess.
Yeah.
But kind of the best. They're playing most consistent.
Yeah.
And you're seeing the linebackers flying around, and they're figuring out a way to pressure quarterbacks and
Warner
guys
Bosa.
enough. Yeah. Next, Houston at Jacksonville, Indy at the Tennessee Titans. Big time. We're in week 3. We got playoff implications in the AFC South next. This episode of Peacock and Williamson brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. You can bet with me and Matt. You can bet against us here in our 6-pack of picks. All the lines we reference here on Peacock and Williamson and the entire Locked On network come from FanDuel. And not only week 3 lines, they've got lines all the way up through week 18, tons of season-long props and so much more. College football, baseball, playoffs nearly here for MLB, and so much more. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to your Sundays. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. The 0-2 Houston Texans travel to division rival Jacksonville Jaguars in week 3. And you cannot go 0-3 to start this season, can you, Matt? With the team we're going to talk about next, the Indianapolis Colts, trying to jump to 3-0. And it's funny because you asked the question before we went on the air, who are the Colts rooting for in this game? Would they rather, both teams be 1-2 after 3 weeks, or would they rather just be like, you know what, we don't have to worry about the Texans this year, and we'll worry about the other 2 teams in the division?
Yeah, it's pretty cool from a Houston perspective that you already feel like you're in the driver's seat, and they have less issues than either one of these teams. And we both said the other day, like, something's missing for Houston, and they still don't run the ball well, and the O-line's still a problem, and the D's good, but then they're on the field a lot, and blah, blah, blah. And then I saw a lot of Jacksonville stuff, which didn't shock me. There's been a lot of Brian Thomas conversation right now because he's not really going after the ball like he should. He's not playing hard.
Dude, sophomore slip always hits. You never know where it's going to hit, but it'll hit somewhere. Is
where
that
you least expect it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, didn't see it coming with Stroud a year ago, But Warren Sharp put a thing together about, Lawrence isn't playing out of his mind. He has not taken that next step clearly. but the drop rate in Jacksonville right now is obscene. And somebody on Twitter put together a reel of all their drops, and it's so many points and yards and first downs that they're leaving on the field. Will that keep up? Probably not, but they were a very drop team last year too. I mean, I'm going to take the points here. Again, some of this is just week 3 sniff test. When you're 0-2, when the Cardinals are 2-0, I don't see them as a 3-0 team. When the Texans are 0-2, I don't see them as an 0-3 team. Familiarity, better quarterback. Give me Houston.
We had a question in the hopper that I was going to use for our mailbag, but a listener who's also a Steelers fan, Steelers burner on Twitter, said Lawrence just isn't it, man. He is so inaccurate, and his wide receivers are clearly done with the constant hospital balls. When you look at BTJ's film, Brian Thomas Jr., what's it going to take to hop off the train? This kind of directed towards you, Matt.
Yeah, I know.
And because you opened up by saying, yeah, Lawrence kind of hasn't taken that step. We should stop expecting another step. Lawrence is kind of who he's shown us through what's been 5 years now.
Yeah, I know. And I think he's really good from the neck up, and the real quarterback nerds are still big Lawrence believers. And I think he's had a lot of things going against him, but I'm the first to admit that the limb that I'm on supporting Lawrence is getting much, much weaker. We've seen a lot now, and maybe his ceiling is the 12th best quarterback, and that's okay. But I'm not suggesting he's going to walk into the Hall of Fame like everyone thought he was coming out of Clemson. I think that ship has definitely sailed, but I don't think he stinks either. Like, I don't know why it has to be one or the other.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's
the draft pedigree, because you drafted number 1 and you're generational, and you got to be, Andrew Luck or John Elway, or else you stink. And that's kind of right. Yeah. Oh, man, if a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I'm like Texans by a touchdown in this game.
Yeah.
And so I feel like even a division opponent, the Texans can figure things out. So I was kind of done after Sunday. I'm going to give them one more shot. Give me the Texans here. I'm getting points, albeit 1.5 points, not very many. Division rival, familiar opponents. Give me the Houston Texans one more time. And, at 0-3, I think you would officially have to jump ship anyway. But I'm going to give you D'Amico Ryans. I'm looking at you. Give you one more shot here.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking at the defense too. Anderson and Hunter. I'm not impressed with Jacksonville's O-line.
Keep it close. Make it hard on Trevor Lawrence in that offense, and just kind of a close game. And I'll take the points. That's why I'm looking at this one.
Me too.
Indianapolis Colts have a chance to, man, if the Colts are 3-0 and the Houston Texans are 0-3 after 3 weeks in the NFL season, I mean, that will be huge.
Wow. Yeah.
And we've got the Indianapolis Colts at the lowly Tennessee Titans. So, of course, the Colts are favored. The question is, 3.5 points, is that even enough?
I'm starting to buy into the Colts. And we mentioned the neighbors thing about Dynasty. I just recorded Locked On Dynasty. That's why it's fresh on my mind. So I just wanted to bounce it off you, too. The other conversation we had was clearly Brock Bowers is the tight end 1 in Dynasty. McBride's number 2. It was either Kittle or Laporta at 3. But we were making the argument it should be Warren.
Oh, it should definitely be. I would argue Warren 2 before I'd argue him 4.
That's actually what Fabiano said too. Like, I think he's closer to the top tier than he is the guys behind him.
Yeah, I wouldn't fault you at all if you said, you know what, I even like Warren better than McBride. But Kittle is awesome, and he's just older. So for dynasty purposes,
right? And he's hurt at the moment. And
Laporta jumped on the scene like gangbusters, but I don't know if that's going to be a big enough feature of that offense for them. So give me Warren. I think I was pretty clear. He's already the number 1 for the Colts, and Daniel Jones is a guy that'll throw to the tight end. So it's a nice little fit, at least in the short term too.
I also threw out Tucker Kraft, who I'm in love with, by the way. But it might be a little early, but not for me. I would have him right in that conversation.
Yeah, especially when you start, fantasy football is one thing, but who are the best pure tight ends? And you feature blocking and all that as well. And so you would start talking a lot more about Laporta, and Warren can block, and he's a physical guy, and especially Tucker Kraft.
I can't say I'm totally bought into Daniel Jones, but there's so much around him that he doesn't have to be great for them to be an efficient football team with Taylor and Warren and all those wide receivers and accomplished O-line. a good offensive-minded head coach. I think the defensive coordinator change in Indianapolis has paid off drastically. And I think it'll really influence Ward in a infantile offense. And I don't even mean that in a bad way.
Right.
I think the Colts, I'm starting to buy into the Colts as being a playoff contender. I'm not saying they're the Bills and Ravens in the AFC, but they look a lot better than the Steelers, the Jags, Houston. There's a lot of these teams in the AFC we've mentioned,
And a lot of the focus is on Daniel Jones for good reason, and you can clearly see why they chose Daniel Jones. They just needed to be able to run their offense efficiently, and that's probably a huge step for everybody on offense. Defense a lot better, which we don't focus on enough because we think so much about the quarterbacks. And so I'm glad you brought that one up. And they're running the football with Taylor like crazies. Actually leads the league in carries right now through 2.
Does he?
So.
He never leaves the field.
Titans just aren't ready around their young quarterback yet. So, 3.5 points. Give me the Colts.
Yeah, I kind of. There was a couple lines today I thought were a little off, which means I'll miss every one of them. But
let us know what you think. That is our 6-pack of NFL picks for Week 3 of the season. We'll be back Friday to make the picks for the rest of the games and preview the Week 3, that is NFL football. Get your questions in for tomorrow's mailbag episode. Talk to you then right here. Peacock and Williamson.